Hadith are the collections of the reports claiming to quote what the Prophet Muhammad said verbatim on any matter. The term comes from the Arabic meaning report, account, or narrative. Hadiths are second only to the Quran in developing Islamic jurisprudence, and regarded as important tools for understanding the Quran and commentaries on it. Many important elements of traditional Islam, such as 5 salat prayers, the abhorrence of paintings and sculpture of living things, stoning adulterers, are mentioned in Hadith but not the Quran. Some Hadith are neutral in the view of Muslims, while Sunnah is recommended duty for Muslims. The Hadith literature is based on spoken reports that were in circulation in society after the death of Muhammad. Unlike the Quran itself, which was compiled under the official direction of the early Islamic State in Medina, the Hadith reports were not compiled by a central authority. Hadith were evaluated and gathered into large collections during the 8th and 9th centuries, generations after the death of Muhammad. After the end of the era of the rightful Rashidun Caliphate, over 1,000 kilometers from where Muhammad lived, each Hadith is based on 2 parts, a chain of narrators reporting the Hadith, and the text itself. Individual Hadith are classified by Muslim clerics and jurists as Sahih, Hasan or Daif. However, there is no overall agreement. Different groups and different individual scholars may classify a Hadith differently. Different branches of Islam refer to different collections of Hadith, and the small heterodox Quranists reject the authority of the Hadith collections. Etymology. In Arabic, the word hadith means a report, account, narrative. The Arabic plural is ahadith. Hadith also refers to the speech of a person. It is a noun. Definition. In Islamic terminology, according to Wang Campo, the term hadith refers to reports of statements or actions of Muhammad, or of his tacit approval or criticism of something said or done in his presence. Though some sources limit hadith to verbal reports and include the deeds of Muhammad and reports about his companions only in the Sunnah. Classical hadith specialist Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says that the intended meaning of hadith in religious tradition is something attributed to Muhammad, but that is not found in the Quran. Other associated words possess similar meanings, including Khabar often refers to reports about Muhammad, but sometimes refers to traditions about his companions and their successes from the following generation. Conversely, Athar usually refers to traditions about the companions and successes, though sometimes connotes traditions about Muhammad. The word Sunnah is also used in reference to a normative custom of Muhammad or the early Muslim community. Components. The 2 major aspects of a hadith are the text of the report, which contains the actual narrative, and the chain of narrators, which documents the route by which the report has been transmitted. The sanad, literally, support, is so named due to the reliance of the hadith specialists upon it in determining the authenticity or weakness of a hadith. The isnad consists of a chronological list of the narrators, each mentioning the one from whom they heard the hadith, until mentioning the originator of the matn along with the matn itself. The first people to hear hadith were the companions who preserved it and then conveyed it to those after them. Then the generation following them received it, thus conveying it to those after them, and so on. So a companion would say, "I heard the Prophet say such and such." The follower would then say, "I heard a companion say, I heard the Prophet." The one after him would then say, "I heard someone say, I heard a companion say, I heard the Prophet," and so on. Different schools. Different branches of Islam refer to different collections of hadith, though the same incident may be found in hadith in different collections. In the Sunni branch of Islam, the canonical hadith collections are the 6 books, of which Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim generally have the highest status. The other books of hadith are Sunan Abu Dawud, Jami at-Tirmidhi, Al-Sunan al-Sufra and Sunan ibn Majah. However, the Malikis, one of the 4 Sunni schools of thought, traditionally reject Sunan ibn Majah and assert the canonical status of Muwatta. Imam Malik, The Fath al-Bari commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari and al-Nawawi's commentary on Sahih Muslim are studied alongside the Hadith, although they are Shah and not part of the Hadith themselves. In the Shia branch of Islam, the canonical Hadith collections are the four books: Kitab al-Kafi, Man la Yadaruhu al-Faqih, Tadab al-Amarkam, and al-Istibsar. In the Abadi branch of Islam, the main canonical collection is the Tartib al-Musnad. This is an expansion of the earlier Jami Sahih collection, which retains canonical status in its own right. The Ahmadiyya branch of Islam generally relies on Sunni Hadith collections. Some minor heterodox groups, collectively known as Quranists, reject the authority of the Hadith collections. The Hadith also had a profound and controversial influence on molding the commentaries on the Quran. The earliest commentary of the Quran by Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari is mostly sourced from the Hadith. The Hadith was used in forming the basis of Shariah law. Much of early Islamic history available today is also based on the Hadith and is challenged for lack of basis in primary source material and contradictions based on secondary material available. History, tradition and usage. History traditions of the life of Muhammad and the early history of Islam were passed down mostly orally for more than 100 years after Muhammad's death in AD 632. Muslim historians say that Caliph Uthman ibn Affan of the Rashidun Empire, or third successor of Muhammad, who had formerly been Muhammad's secretary, is generally believed to urge Muslims to record the Hadith just as Muhammad suggested to some of his followers to write down his words and actions. Uthman's labors were cut short by his assassination, at the hands of aggrieved soldiers, in 656. No sources survive directly from this period, so we are dependent on what later writers tell us about this period. According to British historian of Arab world Alfred Guillaume, it is certain that several small collections of hadith were assembled in Umayyad times. In 851, the rationalist Mu'tazila school of thought fell from favor in the Abbasid Caliphate. The Mu'tazila, for whom the judge of truth was human reason, had clashed with traditionists who looked to the literal meaning of the Quran and Hadith for truth. While the Quran had been officially compiled and approved, Hadiths had not. One result was the number of Hadiths began multiplying in suspiciously direct correlation to their utility, to the quota of the Hadith. In addition, the number of Hadith grew enormously. While Malik ibn Anas had attributed just 1720 statements or deeds to the Prophet Muhammad, it was no longer unusual to find fine people who had collected 100 times that number of hadith. Faced with a huge corpus of miscellaneous traditions supported differing views on a variety of controversial matters, some of them flatly contradicting each other, Islamic scholars of the Abbasids sought to authenticate hadith. Scholars had to decide which hadith were to be trusted as authentic and which had been invented for political or theological purposes. To do this, they used a number of techniques which Muslims now call the science of hadith. Shia and Sunni textual traditions. Sunni and Shia hadith collections differ because scholars from the two traditions differ as to the reliability of the narrators and transmitters. Narrators who took the side of Abu Bakr and Umar rather than Ali, in the dispute over leadership that followed the death of Muhammad, are seen as unreliable by the Shia. Narrations sourced to Ali and the family of Muhammad, and to their supporters, are preferred. Sunni scholars put trust in narrators, such as Aisha, whom Shia reject. Differences in hadith collections have contributed to differences in worship practices and Sharia law and have hardened the dividing line between the two traditions. Extent and nature in the Sunni tradition. In the Sunni tradition, the number of such texts is 10,000 plus or minus a few thousand. But if, say, 10 companions record a text reporting a single incident in the life of the Prophet, hadith scholars can count this as 10 hadiths. So Musnad Ahmad, for example, has over 30,000 hadiths, but this count includes texts that are repeated in order to record slight variations within the text or within the chains of narrations, identifying the narrators of the various texts, comparing their narrations of the same text to identify both the soundest reporting of a text and the reporters who are most sound in their reporting. Occupied experts of hadith throughout the 2nd century. In the 3rd century of Islam, hadith experts composed brief works recording a selection of about 2,000 to 5,000 such texts which they felt to have been most soundly documented or most widely referred to in the Muslim scholarly community. The 4th and 5th century saw these 6 works being commented on quite widely. This auxiliary literature has contributed to making their study the place of departure for any serious study of hadith. In addition, Bukhari and Muslim in particular claimed that they were collecting only the soundest of sound hadiths. These later scholars tested their claims and agreed to them, so that today, they are considered the most reliable collections of hadith. Toward the end of the 5th century, Ibn al-Qaisarani formally standardized the Sunni canon into 6 pivotal works, a delineation which remains to this day. Over the centuries, several different categories of collections came into existence. Some are more general, like the Musannaf, the Mujam, and the Jami, and some more specific, either characterized by the topics treated, like the Sunan, or by its composition, like the Arba'iniyat. Extent and nature. In the Shia tradition, Shia Muslims do not use the 6 major hadith collections followed by the Sunni, as they do not trust many of the Sunni narrators and transmitters. They have their own extensive hadith literature. The best-known hadith collections are the 4 books, which were compiled by 3 authors who are known as the 3 Muhammads. The 4 books are Kitab al-Kafi by Muhammad ibn Yaqub al-Kulayna al-Razi, Man la Yadaruhu al-Faqih by Muhammad ibn Babuya, and al-Tadibun al-Istibsar, both by Sheikh Muhammad Tuzi. Shia clerics also make use of extensive collections and commentaries by later authors. Unlike Sunnis, Shia do not consider any of their hadith collections to be sahih in their entirety. Therefore, every individual hadith in a specific collection must be investigated separately to determine its authenticity. Today usage, the mainstream sects consider hadith to be essential supplements to, and clarifications of, the Quran, Islam's holy book, as well as for clarifying issues pertaining to Islamic jurisprudence. Ibn al-Salah, a hadith specialist, described the relationship between hadith and other aspects of the religion by saying, "It is the science most pervasive in respect to the other sciences in their various branches, in particular to jurisprudence being the most important of them. The intended meaning of other sciences here are those pertaining to religion," explains Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Quranic exegesis, hadith, and jurisprudence. The science of hadith became the most pervasive due to the need displayed by each of these 3 sciences. The need hadith has of its science is apparent. As for Quranic exegesis, then the preferred manner of explaining the speech of God is by means of what has been accepted as a statement of Muhammad. The one looking to this is in need of distinguishing the acceptable from the unacceptable. Regarding jurisprudence, then the jurist is in need of citing as an evidence the acceptable to the exception of the later, something only possible utilizing the science of hadith studies. Hadith studies use a number of methods of evaluation developed by early Muslim scholars in determining the veracity of reports attributed to Muhammad. This is achieved by analyzing the text of the report, the scale of the report's transmission, the routes through which the report was transmitted, and the individual narrators involved in its transmission. On the basis of these criteria, various classifications were devised for hadith. The earliest comprehensive work in hadith studies was Abu Muhammad al-Rama Hermazis al-Muhaddith al-Fasl, while another significant work was al-Hakim al-Nazaburi's Ma'rifat Ulam al-Hadith. Ibn al-Salah's Ulam al-Hadith is considered the standard classical reference on hadith studies. Terminology. Admissible and inadmissible hadiths. By means of hadith terminology, hadith are categorized as sahih, da'if, or mawdu'. Other classifications used also include Hasan, which refers to an otherwise sahih report suffering from minor deficiency, or a weak report strengthened due to numerous other corroborating reports, and Monkey, which is a report that is rejected due to the presence of an unreliable transmitter contradicting another more reliable narrator. Both Sahih and Hasan reports are considered acceptable for usage in Islamic legal discourse. Classifications of hadith may also be based upon the scale of transmission. Reports that pass through many reliable transmitters at each point in the isnad up until their collection and transcription are known as mutawatir. These reports are considered the most authoritative as they pass through so many different routes that collusion between all of the transmitters becomes an impossibility. Reports not meeting this standard are known as ahad, and are of several different types. Some hadith are also called hadith qudsi, like Ziyarat Ashura. It is a subcategory of hadith which some Muslims regard as the words of God. According to as-Sayyid Ash-Sharif al-Jurjani, the hadith qudsi differ from the Quran in that the former are expressed in Muhammad's words, whereas the latter are the direct words of God. However, note that a hadith qudsi is not necessarily sahih, it can also daif or even mawdu'. An example of a hadith qudsi is the hadith of Abu Hurairah, who said that Muhammad said, "When God decreed the creation, he pledged himself by writing in his book which is laid down with him, 'My mercy prevails over my wrath.'" Non-primary source needed. Biographical evaluation. Another area of focus in the study of hadith is biographical analysis, in which details about the transmitter are scrutinized. This includes analyzing the date and place of birth, familial connections, teachers and students, religiosity, moral behavior, literary output, their travels, as well as their date of death. Based upon these criteria, the reliability of the transmitter is assessed. Also determined is whether the individual was actually able to transmit the report, which is deduced from their contemporaneity and geographical proximity with the other transmitters in the chain. Examples of biographical dictionaries include Abd al-Ghani al-Maqdisi's al-Kamal fi Asma al-Rijal, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani's Tadib al-Tadib, al-Dahabi's Tadkirat al-Hufaz. Criticism. The major points of criticism of the hadith literature is based in questions regarding its authenticity, as well as theological, philosophical critiques. Muslim scholars questioned the hadith literature throughout its history, with Western academics also becoming active in the field later on. Bibliography. Berg. The development of exegesis in early Islam. The authenticity of Muslim literature from the formative period. Routledge. ISBN 0-7007-1224-0. Lucas. Constructive Critics, Hadith Literature, and the Articulation of Sunni Islam. Brill Academic Publishers. ISBN 90-04-133194. Robinson, F. Islamic Historiography. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 0-521-62936-5. Robson. Hadith. In P.J. Bierman, T.H. Bianquish, C. Bosworth. Van Donzel and W.P. Heinrichs. Encyclopedia of Islam Online. Brill Academic Publishers. ISSN 1573-3912. Swarup, Ram. Understanding Islam Through Hadith. Exposition Press, Smithtown, New York, USA. Brown, Jonathan A. C. Criticism of the Proto-Hadith Canon. Al-Darakatni's Adjustment of the Sahihain. Journal of Islamic Studies 15. 1-37. DOI 10.1093, JIS 15.1.1. Recepcenturk, Narrative Social Structure, Anatomy of the Hadith Transmission Network, 610-1505. Jonathan Brown, The Canonization of Al-Bukhari and Muslim, The Formation and Function of the Sunni Hadith.